Hola, mi Bisshhs, says I, Clois, aka Manny Bish, over on Instagram, and today we are doing a inspired Manny. So if you've seen the thumbnail, you probably know, but it's an ALANI, the cherry bomb can inspired. I seen that and it was just like, I love the design of this. I need to do this. So that is what we're doing, and I'm using Maniology. No, my bad. Wrong. I'm using Manny Boss Sugar Plum for the base of this Manny, and this was a Christmas release 2 or 3 years ago now. I'm not even sure. And anyways, I just felt like this was the perfect color. When I seen the can and I was like trying to envision this, I was like, do I have this color? And then immediately I thought, oh my gosh, I think I have the perfect color for this. And sure enough, this is pretty much spot on. It is the absolute perfect color. You will see, I'll put the can in later on in the video when I start the nail art to show y'all exactly what I'm doing, where I got the inspo, and all of that. So I'm going to go ahead, and I'm also using the Manny Boss gel base for this. So I am doing this as a gel method dip powder Manny situation. So if you're new to this and don't know about the gel method, this is literally like any other when you do your dip powder, but you're going to use it with gel. So you're going to apply the gel, and when you do gel, it is usually easier to do it with a pour over method, because the gel doesn't start to stiffen or harden like the dip base does right away. As soon as it hits the air, the gel is going to stay liquidy and flexible until you cure it. So the pour over method is typically better, because if you were to apply the gel and then dip your finger into the powder, you risk moving and pushing that gel around some, and it can flood the cuticle and create a big mess or create bare spots just because the gel is moving with the powder being pushed into the powder. So pour over is typically the way to go with a gel mani, with a gel method. And the only time I would say you don't, shouldn't, or want to do the pour over method with gel is when it comes to the chunky glitter. Do for that one, it would be like the first layer, do the pour over so you get a good base, and then on the second layer, instead of dipping your nail in it, you're going to turn your hand over and lay your nail in flat into the glitter to get that really packed glitter packed look. And that is easier to lay your finger flat in there, because again, it's less likely to push things around than just dipping directly into everything. So anyways, I'm doing this, and after I put the first layer down, nothing is cured. All of my fingers are still wet with the gel. I've already put the first layer of dip powder down, but before I go into the light, because the gel is wet, it absorbs that powder. And so I like to go in, and once the powder is absorbed on my nails, I'll go in with another little sprinkle over the top just before curing to make sure the pigment is good and good in there. I don't know. I feel like I get more pigmentation off that way. It's just something I've done, that once I apply the first layer, before I put it in the light, I'll go back to where I started and apply another coat of powder. Just so, because everything's already been absorbed into the gel, just add more. If there's any more wetness, it can get absorb more of the pigment. That's why I do it. Could not do absolutely anything. I don't really know. It's just something that I've always done. So that's what I'm doing. And the same, so second layer, I use my scrubby brush to get any of the excess off from the first layer. And then we're going to go in with the second layer, apply the gel, and do the exact same thing. Leave everything wet, don't cure anything. Apply your powder over the gel. And you can do this one finger at a time. I did start off that way when I first started doing the gel method, because it just made me more comfortable and because sometimes I do hit my nails on stuff. I'm very clumsy with my nails even when doing them. And so when I first started, my confidence was lower. So I would cure individually, or after two nails, I would cure just to make sure everything would set in place and I wouldn't have to worry about accidentally bumping a nail and whatever. Because if you are doing all at the same time and not curing in between each finger, if you do bump a nail with the powder on it or whatever, you can like mess it up and have to start over. So just keep that in mind about if you want to cure individually, do a couple nails at a time and cure, or if you are comfortable doing your whole hand and then curing, which I am at that point now. However, I will say that I usually will only do my phalanges and then my thumbs separate. I do save my thumb and do that one on its own, like 9 times out of 10. So, yeah. So, anyways, I'm doing 2 layers of this. This is kind of a long video, so I apologize for that. But this nail art, it's one of those things. Every nail is different, so I feel like I need to include like every nail in the process so you can see how I did each design on each nail. And that's where the time really got to me, was that. So, yeah. So we're going to cure these. I am curing each layer. I am curing for 90 seconds in my light, my LED light. So that is how that's working. Another reason I am a fan of the gel method is that I get like the best cuticles when I do the gel method. I'm able to get like super close, and the cleanup is just like so good around the cuticle that I don't know. I feel like I have the cleanest looking cuticles and nails when I do the gel method. But I know there are a lot of issues with the gel method because of, contact dermatitis, if anybody's got the allergies and stuff. So I get why a lot of people try to stay away from this one. It's been, I think, maybe like a year since I've done the gel method, Manny. With dip powder, because I'm just barely getting back into dip powder anyways. I haven't actually been doing dip powder. I've been doing strictly gel on myself for a few months, and it wasn't until I think the end of November. So it was about from like July to the end of November that I was doing just gel on myself and Gel X nails. So I'm glad to be back into the dipping era, and I am remembering how much I love the dip, and I have so many that I have not ever even used. So we need to get back into it and get those babies into use. So now I have buffed my nails at this point. So I did the second layer and cured. You can go in with another layer of gel base, gel top coat, and then cure that on top to kind of encapsulate that color. So if you're a heavy handed filer or anything, or if your nails need like some super filing to get even, I would do that as a like encapsulation so you don't take any color off. However, I did not do that. I just went straight into buffing. My nails weren't completely out of shape. I just needed a smoother surface. So I went ahead and buffed them. And now I'm going in with matte gel top coat, because even though the buffing like did make it smooth, I needed my nail surface to be like super soft and just glidable for all of the nail art that we were going to be doing on them. So I am going in with a matte gel top coat now, and I'm going to cure that for 90 seconds as well, and then we're going to get into the nail art of everything. And yeah, so this is the inspiration. It's this can. As you can see, that base color for the can is a pretty dark maroon berry color. And then it's got some leopard print that's almost the same color, just a tiny bit darker in the background underneath all of the other pink, red pop art situations. So I am taking this brush. This is a new brush to me. I believe I got it from Ball Pit Nails. I'll look for sure and then have everything linked in the description box. But this is my first time using it as well, so it was a fresh brush. So I did go ahead and prime it with a little bit of base gel. Just worked in some base gel into it to get it nice and soft, and then I went into the actual color. So this color is You're the Pink by Madame Glam, and I'm just using this to create that pink. How there's that pink, that light pink ring around the rim of the can. That's what I'm getting the inspo for this from, and that is what I am trying to do. And I'm going to do this on all of my nails. So I'm only showing my thumb, but I'm going to do this on all 5 fingers. And so I didn't want to show any other nails like on the repetitive end of stuff. I'm only going to show every finger when it comes to the actual nail art that I'm doing, not the like basis of the nail art, which this and then leopard print I'm going to show you, but I'm also only going to show you that on my thumb as well. So I'm taking my cleanup brush, just cleaning up this line situation. I'm trying to get it as clean as possible, but it's not like completely perfect, but it was good enough. So I'm cleaning up around the sidewall, and then I'm gonna try and get the line like as straight and even as possible. And then I'll also take my cleanup brush and kind of clean up on the inside here to make it like taper the way that I want it to, coming down the sidewall and around, just to make it look a little bit cleaner and more put together. So that is going to be that. And like I said, I did on all of them. I did want to show you this though, because about on my ring finger, I think is when I first used this. And I thought, oh, well, this is actually really good too, because it's got that ball fine point tip at the end, being a dotting tool. So it already has that like rounded, like nice, even way to it. So you could totally use this to draw, which you're going to see me actually use this a few different times. You're going to see me use a dotting tool to kind of draw on some stuff. But that is a really good one because it almost acts like a pin. Whereas the liner brush, you've got this like, you have to hold it up farther and you've got this whole like free edge situation that's like wiggling and stuff. And with the dotting tool, it's like a pin. It's stiff, nothing like, you know what I mean? I don't know. So I do like the dotting tool in that sense. I have done a couple of other manis that I've uploaded where I use the dotting tool as to do the art, and it worked really good in this sense too, to do that cuticle line. So now I'm using Barista. This is Barista from Madame Glam. It's part of their Friends collection. Now I was looking for a color that was similar to the base and that would work. Now the issue here is that I picked a color that was way too similar. So this video isn't actually going to end up being all the way through, only because my phone died at the very, very end. And it was my pinky. My pinky was like nothing serious, so it really didn't matter. However, I did all of this leopard print on every single nail. So I'm just going through creating little half circles, dots, jagged circled lines. Like that's the way in the print that I was trying to get it done, is so if you can like tell that it's just like there's no rhyme or reason to it, just jagged lines, circles, half circles, dots for the leopard print part itself. However, at the very end, when I put on the top coat, I had to take off the top coat and then come back in and touch up the leopard print with what I ended up doing was mixing a little bit of black into this color to make it darker, because this color alone is, when you put top coat on, is the exact same color as the base. So it literally disappeared into the background. So I will say that I should have, and I thought about it at first and I didn't do it. I was like, no, it should be fine. I should have added the black and made it how it is. And so now I'm going in with my lightning bolt. And this was another thing. I wanted the leopard print to be like, look like it was coming from the background, However, it did kind of make it a little bit hard to do some of the other nail art on top of it because it's already got this other leopard print texture on it. Um, so it did make it a little hard in that sense. And there are a couple of nails, um, my thumb particularly, where I wish I wouldn't have done the leopard print until after doing the initial nail art, just because there is actually no colored background for the thumb. It is just the color of the nail. And so if I would have made that leopard print black at first, you definitely would have seen it and it wouldn't have looked like it would have looked like a translucent dice essentially. But thankfully, in that sense, the leopard print blended in with the background. So when I went back to darken the leopard print, I just worked around the dice on my thumb, which you'll see in a second. So for my lightning bolt, I'm just creating the lines, trying to, if you've seen it, like I showed you how I did it. I'm going at a little bit at an angle all the way across and then creating that one line down at the bottom straight down and going from there. Now, the first layer was a little thin. You could still see some of the leopard print through, which is what I'm saying about like I wanted it to be in the background, but I wish on a couple of nails I would have thought to do it as the after fact of the initial art and not at first, because it does create that texture. So you were able to still see a little bit of the leopard print through there. So I'm going in with a second layer of that pink and just filling it in. And just to clean up some of the like lining around the lightning bolt, I'm taking that exact same color that I did the leopard print in, Barista from Madame Glam, and I am just outlining that lightning bolt. Now, throughout this whole mani, I am using the same exact pink, which is the You're the Pink from Madame Glam. I'm using Barista from Madame Glam, and then I will be using a white, red, and black gel paint from Amazon, which will always, the red and black are from a gel paint kit that's no longer available, though um they still have like the kit itself is no longer available, but they still have those colors just available in a different kit. So I will link those in everything that is available. So here's the dice. So I'm creating a line. Right now I'm trying to do it like roughly thin and leave it like that just to get a outline of how I want it, and then I'll go back in once I get the outline out and I'll darken everything up. So I'm trying to make my dice look like it's at that like angle where it's not, you're not just seeing one side of the dice, but you're seeing multiple angles of the dice. So I'm creating this box effect. Um it's hard to work on a round nail trying to do sharp straight lines to create an actual corner. I will say like my thumb is more curved than a lot of my nails, so I don't know if this was it was the biggest nail that I had for this dice, but I don't know if, like logistically, it's not the easiest nail to work on. So there's that. But that is what I'm going for. So I'm going to just flash cure that, and then I'm going to come in and go back over it to darken up those lines and really make them pop so you get the outline of the dice. And then I'm going to cure that again as well. And then I'm going to go in with the red gel paint, this pink, a white gel paint, and we're going to do the little numbers on the dice. And those are in the shapes of hearts. So I will be using my dotting tool for those because to me, hearts are the easiest with the dotting tool than anything else. So once I get that looking roughly the way I want it to, I'm going to flash cure it. Well, not even flash cure it, I'm going to actually cure it. But I am going to take my cleanup brush and just make those lines just really sharp if I can, as sharp as I can get them. And now I'm going in after curing those lines to make my heart. I am making them a little bit at an angle because of the way the dice is like gonna be facing. I need it, I can't have it looking like exactly perfect straight on the nail because then it will throw off the whole angle. So I'm kind of painting them on just a little bit at an angle, making them look a little tilted for the purpose of the dice. And this is going relatively smoothly. I only had to remove one heart and redo it. So to me, that was a win. When it comes to nail art, yes, I like things to be as perfect as it can be, but I've gotten to the point now to where I more or less know my limitations. And if I know that something is as good as it's going to get, I'm not going to keep pushing myself and redoing it because if it looks good enough, then just keep it and leave it as it is because the more you try to redo something, you're just going to get yourself more frustrated and it could just ruin the whole thing and then you'll never be happy with it. So, if you get to a point where you're just like, okay, I'm relatively happy with it. You don't even have to be 100% happy with it. If you're like 85% happy with it, I would just leave it alone and call it quits and just stop there, cure it. Because it's not going to be 100% perfect every time. And sometimes you just end up frustrating yourself and creating more of a mess the more you keep trying to get that 100% perfect. So, if you can get it in the first one or two tries, great. If by the third or fourth try you're just still at 85%, just leave it alone. Don't stress yourself out trying to make it perfect because you will frustrate yourself. I have been there so many times. And so on this side, I'm doing the pink one, and um, it's going to be closer to that outline because the heart has to be more towards the center of the dice at that point, and so that's where the center of the dice would be. It would be more towards that outline. And then I'm only putting 3 white dots at the top because it would technically be more of like the bottom of the heart. So that was just that. And we're done with that now. That was it. So now on this one, I am doing my cherry. And this one was a little complicated. I'm trying to, it needs to be round. Sorry, guys. I just kind of burped. My bad. It needs to be a little bit more round at the bottom. And then you need to have that like heart-ish shape at the top to get that like plump cherry look. You know what I'm saying? So this took me just a rough like 2 minutes, probably to really 2 or 3 minutes to figure out. I did start off everything with the dotting tool, but I'm gonna try and go in and perfect that like actual curve of everything with my liner brush. And I don't show it, but I do take my cleanup brush just right down the center, like that middle right there. I take it right there in that area just to create that little dip in the cherry for the stem and everything. So once I have that cured and everything, I'm going to be taking that brown again, the barista maroon brown, and I'm going to be creating this little drip effect on the cherry that is also on the can. Everything I'm doing is relatively like more or less the same on the can. So that is what it is. And so I'm just creating this drip. I'm going to flash cure this. And this does have a lot of details. And I'm not, I can do a lot of details, but I'm not one to really like prominently focus on a lot of details and do that. So it is rough for me sometimes to get in here and do like these tiny little, I'm taking this white gel paint and just creating these tiny little highlights and such. Like that is sometimes can be very frustrating for me, but somehow I was able to get it right away. Now I'm taking black and I'm just going on top of that brown right at the very, very top to create that shadow divot point for where our stem is going to be placed. And I Also added a little pink line. I guess I didn't record that part. On the cherry there on the other side. I'm creating our stem, and it's going to be like a cherry bomb. So I'm creating the stem, little dynamite effect coming around the cherry down off the bottom of my nail. And here's where the explosion is going to start. So I'm adding a red dot first, right here at the bottom, not to be perfect. And then I'm just going around that. This was the tedious part. I'm going around that red and creating the little like uh effect, the boom, like poof, cartoon explosion effect. So I'm just creating literally little angles, just square spikes all the way around this to give it that boom effect, if you will. So that's literally all I'm doing right here. And it does kind of come off the sidewall of my nail, which is fine. We got it done. And then here we're doing matches. Y'all, I'm losing my breath so bad. Like, I talk a lot and I talk fast anyways, but being pregnant and doing it, it's a whole nother ballgame. I don't know. I am out of breath constantly. But anywho, so I'm using white for the match stick part, and I'm doing one coming this way, and then another one is going to go across the middle of that one, and going this way, yes. And then I am going to do the base of the flame on the first one, and then we'll go in with the more details on that. So, yes. So, for those of you who guessed boy in the comments of my last video after finding out I was pregnant, you're wrong. It's a girl. So, as of today, in doing this voiceover, I am 31 weeks pregnant, so we're getting close. I did have our son at 34, no, 35. I was 35 weeks and 4 days when I had our son. So he was a little preemie baby, 3 pounds, 14 ounces. But he measured 2 weeks behind my whole pregnancy. But little miss over here is measuring right where she should be. And so we're hoping that everything goes good and I'm able to at least stick it out to 37 weeks with her. So fingers crossed, prayers, good thoughts, everything. We welcome it all, please. So, anyways, now I'm creating the base of my flame. I made it, as you can see, it's kind of like a little bat looking thing, or even like a little stingray shape. I don't know. You take that whichever way you want to. Stingray shape, bat shape. The the shape is there. So that's what the shape is. That is what we're going for the initial shape of everything. And I'm just trying to get this one side to cooperate with me a little bit. And this is what I'm talking about just being 85% happy, because I did do this twice, and by the second time I was like, okay, that's good enough. I'm not going to press my luck and try any harder or try and do this again, because I can't guarantee that it's going to come out this good again, even though this isn't 100% perfect. And so then after flash curing that, I'm going to take that same pink and I'm going to create another outline. Now with my outlines on some of them, you're going to see that I am like leaving just like a centimeter, half a centimeter of color in between the outline and the actual like situation or shape itself, and it's to give that like pop art ish effect. We want those colors like kind of all blended in and mixed in there to be able to see. So I did that outline, and then I am going to come back in. So this is the flame. I'm going to come back in and we're going to create dots. So I didn't even explain. Oh, just kidding. We're going to do the match tip first. So I'm going to add the red dot on both of the matches. And then I'm going to also take my liner brush and create some little bitty highlights in here and see give it some life, I suppose. These highlights, like, I know I don't do them on a lot of manis because I think it just looks fine just without. But if you do want the time and you do want to go the extra mile, it does add just an extra level of like depth and highlight and just like character, and it does make the mani a little bit better. Is it absolutely necessary? No, I don't think so. But if you feel like doing the extra work, there is a payoff to it. It does make it look just top notch, if you will. So, and then I'm going in and with that same liner brush with red this time and creating that strip down the center of the match. And here you see me like going in and out of this clear. This is to clean off my brush in between colors. I will dip my liner brush in the clear and swirl it around and just make sure all of the other color is removed. And I'm not using acetone on my brush to clean it because that will dry it out. So gel base is your best bet on cleaning off your liner brushes in between colors and when you're done with a mani. And I just outlined that stick on the top so that it would give the like portrayal of it being to the forefront and the other stick behind it. And as you can see, I messed up, so I had to go in and fix my mistakes. And once I got my sticks all lined up, now I'm going in with the little brown dots around the flame, which is also on the can. And you'll see that I also did that on the lightning bolt. I didn't even like try to explain that on the lightning bolt. So like everything I'm doing, I'm trying to like mimic as close as possible. There are a couple of the things that I did not do the things on, like the cherry. But as you can see, I went back through and darkened up my leopard print around the nail art that I already did because it was pretty much translucent. And I also, on my pinky, that was just the simplest thing. I just did those little starburst star thingies and a little zigzag line for some lightning. And that was my pinky. All of the nail art on everything else was what I showed you. And I did a couple of hearts on my pinky too. But yeah, the leopard print, I did have to go back through with just a little bit darker color to make it stand out more because as you can see on that dice, everything that was leopard print inside of the dice it literally disappeared because the color was just too perfect initially. So had to darken it up some, but this is what I ended up with. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Happy Valentine's Day. I will catch y'all in my next one. Bye, bitches.